Hare Krishna. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnavon ki jai. Today we are going to study the verse number 13 and 14 of chapter number 6 of Bhagwat Gita as it is. And the name of this chapter is Dhyan Yoga. Now let us together recite the verse number 13 and 14. Samam Kaya Shiro Grivam Dharayan Achalam Sthiraha Samprekshya Nasika Agram Swam Dishascha Anvalokayan Prashantatma Vigatabhihi Brahmachari Vrate Sthitaha Manah Sanyamya Machitto Yukta Asit Matparaha Samam Kaya Shiro Grivam Dharayan Achalam Sthiraha Samprekshya Nasika Agram Swam Dishascha Na Avalokayan Prashantatma Vigatabhihi Brahmachari Vrate Sthitaha Manah Sanyamya Machitto Yukta Asita Matparaha Samam Kaya Shiro Grivam Dharayan Achalam Sthiraha Samprekshya Nasika Agram Swam Dishascha Anvalokayan Prashantatma Vigatabhihi Brahmachari Vrate Sthitaha Manah Sanyamya Machitto Yukta Asita Matparaha. Shri Krishna, he says that one should hold one's body, neck and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Krishna is explaining that what a yogi needs to do in Dhyan Yoga process. Samam Kaya Shiro Grivam Dharayan Achalam Sthira Samprekshya Nasika Agram Swam Dishascha Anvalokayan. And then Krishna says that thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind and devoid of fear and completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. Prashant Atma Vigatabhihi Brahmachari Vrate Sthita Manah Sanyamya Machitto Yukta Asita Matparaha. Before we deeply study today's verse, let us go back a little bit and do a little revision of the verses number 10, 11 and 12. In verse number 10, Krishna said that a yogi should go to a secluded place and that too all alone. And the place should be sacred. He should be free from all kinds of material desires and the feeling of possessiveness. Then in verse number 11 and 12, Krishna said that a yogi, after going to a secluded and sacred place, must take a asana. He must make a asana for himself. And the asana should be made of kusha grass and it should be covered with deer skin, and then on top of it should be a soft cloth. Specifically here it is mentioned about the deer skin because the deer skin has some chemicals which repels the insects and reptiles like scorpions and snakes, because the yogi has to practice the yoga process in forest. This is why deer skin is specifically mentioned. Further, it is made clear that the asana or the seat should neither be too high nor too low. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and should practice yoga by controlling the mind and the senses, by purifying the heart, and by firmly fixing the mind on one point. After these instructions, now Krishna, in verse number 13 and 14, which we are going to study today, is going to let us know that what the yogi is going to do after sitting firmly on the asana. To understand it, let us start reading the Anvay given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur ki samam, straight, kaya, his body, shirah, head, grivam, and neck, dharayan, holding, achalam, unmoving, sthirah, steadfast, samprekshya, gazing, nasika agram swayam, at the tip of his nose, dishaha, in the directions, cha, and anvalokayan, not glancing, prashant atma, filled with peace, vigatabhihi, free from fear, brahmachari vrate, in a vow of celibacy, sthitah, fixed, manaha, the mind, sanyamya, controlling, mat, chittah, thinking of me, yuktah, engaged in, asit, should sit, mat paraha, engrossed in me. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that keeping one's body, neck and head erect and steady, one should fix one's vision solely on the tip of the nose, not looking elsewhere, and thus observing strictly celibacy, being fearless and peaceful, and controlling the mind. One should practice yoga by meditating on me with one pointed attention, remaining always devoted to me. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the middle part of the body is called kaya, the torso. Samam means not crooked, or in other words, straight. And achalam means not moving, which means steady. Keeping the torso straight and steady, and restraining the mind from sense objects, one should become dedicated to my bhakti while meditating on my beautiful four-handed Vishnu form. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has explained the verse very beautifully, what Krishna is instructing to the practitioner of Dhyan Yoga. Further, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that if the sitting posture is firm and comfortable, then it helps one to attain spiritual practice, to do spiritual practice. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that there are 64 types of postures like Swastika, Mayur, Garud and Padma. Patanjali has also said Sthir Sukham Asanam. Patanjali Yoga Sutra also says Sthir Sukham Asana. It means that the position or asan should be firm and comfortable. And in Shvetashwar Upanishad, the process of asana has been explained very in a detailed manner. It says that keeping the torso, head and neck in a straight line and controlling all the senses, one should practice yoga by absorbing one's mind in meditating on the Supreme Spirit situated in the heart. Such learned sadhakas cross over the terrible ocean of lust and anger in the material world by the boat of absolute transcendence, Brahma. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that one may doubt the need to adopt an asana for the gross body while remembering Bhagwan. One may say that what is the need of the asana or posture of the body when one can remember Bhagavan within the mind. So in this regard, in the Vedanta Sutra, it says, Ashinah Sambhavatah. One should remember Sri Hari while sitting in a firm posture or asana. Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan explains in his commentary on the Vedanta Sutra named Govind Bhashya. He says that it is not possible to concentrate the chitta. Chitta means thoughts, without a proper posture or asana. And one's thoughts are distracted while walking, moving, standing, and sleeping, making it impossible to make the heart one-pointed. This is very clearly explained that if a person thinks that we can think about God, we can meditate only by mind, and the bodily posture does not matter. So here it is given the biggest proof from the Vedanta Sutra. It says Ashina Sambhavat, that one should remember Sri Hari while sitting in a firm posture. Asana does not mean only the Kusha Asana. Asana means posture, and for that only various postures are mentioned, that is Swastika, Mayur, Garud, Padmasan, Ardha Padmasan. Further, Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that this is also cited in Srimad Bhagavatam. Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that if one thinks that one can remember God within the mind and the posture is not needed, or it is not important to follow the posture, so it is clearly mentioned that it is not possible to concentrate the chitta without a proper posture or asana, and one's thoughts are distracted while walking, moving, standing, and sleeping. This is why the importance of posture and asana is mentioned in the scriptures. After reading the Anvay, it is very clear that how important it is for a yogi to sit in a right kind of posture in a sacred place, and that he should be alone so that he does not get disturbed or agitated by anything, because he has to concentrate on the Supreme Lord who resides in his heart. This is the main aim of Dhyan Yoga, that a person should be able to meditate and see the four-handed Vishnu form of the Supreme Lord. Now we are going to read the purport given by Srila Prabhupada to have a more understanding, a more deeper understanding of this very important verse. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnavo ki jai. Srila Prabhupada says that the goal of life is to know Krishna, who is situated within the heart of every living being as Paramatma, the four-handed Vishnu form. The yoga process is practiced in order to discover and see this localized form of Vishnu, and not for any other purpose. So clearly and in simple words, Srila Prabhupada has clarified, and he has clearly said that the yoga process is practiced only in order to discover and see this localized form of Vishnu, because Krishna is situated within the heart of every living being as Paramatma, the four-handed Vishnu form. So how does one see the Vishnu form? For this only the yoga process is practiced. Now the localized Vishnu Murti is the plenary representation of Krishna dwelling within one's heart. And one who has no program, no plan to realize this Vishnu Murti is simply uselessly engaged in mock yoga practice and is certainly wasting his time. Krishna is the ultimate goal of life, and Vishnu Murti situated in one's heart is the object of yoga practice. We shall repeat this sentence, that Krishna is the ultimate goal of life, and Vishnu Murti situated in one's heart is the object of yoga practice. And to realize this Vishnu Murti within the heart, one has to observe complete abstinence from sex life. Therefore, one has to leave home and live alone in a secluded place, remaining seated as mentioned here in verse number 10, 11 and 12. It is clearly mentioned that the practitioner should go to the forest and there he should find a sacred place and he should go all alone, and how he has to make his own asana and then he has to concentrate on one point. Further, Prabhupada says that one cannot enjoy sex life daily at home or elsewhere and attend a so-called yoga class and thus become a yogi. Prabhupada has clearly mentioned what is going on in today's world. He says that one cannot enjoy sex life daily at home or elsewhere and attend a so-called yoga class and thus become a yogi. Prabhupada says that one has to practice controlling the mind and avoid all kinds of sense gratification activities. And amongst all the sense gratification activities, sex life is the chief. Prabhupada says that in the rules of celibacy written by the great sage Yajnavalkya, it is said, Karmana manasa vacha sarva asthasu sarvasthasu sarvada sarvatra maithun tyago brahmacharyam prachakshate. Karmana manasa vacha sarva avasthasu sarvatha sarvatra maithun tyago brahmacharyam prachakshate. It means that the vow of brahmacharya, vow means promise, is meant to help one completely abstain from sex indulgence in work, words and mind at all times and under all circumstances. So it is very clearly said that a person who wants to practice yoga, he must take a vow of brahmacharya, which means to completely abstain from sex indulgence in work, but in words and mind also, and at all times and under all circumstances. Further, very clearly Prabhupada says that no one can perform correct yoga practice through sex indulgence. So, indulgence in sex has to be completely avoided, abstained. Brahmacharya is taught from childhood itself. For this reason, Brahmacharya is taught from childhood when there is no knowledge of sex life, and children at the age of 5 are sent to the Gurukul or to the place of spiritual master, and the master trains the young boys in the strict discipline of becoming brahmacharis. Without such practice, no one can make advancement in yoga. Further, it is repeated that without such practice, no one can make any advancement in any yoga, whether it is dhyan, gyan or bhakti yoga. And one who, however, follows the rules and regulations of married life, having sexual relationship only with his wife, and that also under regulation, is also called a brahmachari. Such a restrained householder brahmachari may be accepted in the bhakti school, but the gyan and dhyan school do not admit even householder brahmacharis. They require complete abstinence from compromise. So it's very clearly mentioned here that the Gyanis and Dhyanis, they do not even accept the householder brahmacharis, because according to them, they require complete abstinence without compromise. But in the Bhakti school, that is in Bhakti Yoga, a householder brahmachari is allowed controlled sex life, because the cult of Bhakti Yoga is so powerful that one automatically loses sexual attraction, because he is engaged in the superior service of the Lord. So here a comparative study is given between the three yoga system, that is the Gyan Yoga and Dhyan Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. So here it is mentioned that in Gyan Yoga and Dhyan Yoga, they do not admit anybody other than the brahmacharis, and those brahmacharis who are trained at the age of 5 by going to the Gurukul. So these Gyanis and Dhyanis, they have to say that only the brahmacharis can practice the yoga, the Dhyan yoga. But in Bhakti Yoga, the householder brahmacharis are also accepted because they are having the sex life only with their wedded wife, and that too to beget the Krishna conscious children. And this is the power of Bhakti Yoga, that one who practices bhakti automatically loses all kinds of sexual attractions because he is engaged in the superior service of the Lord. In Bhagwat Gita, it is mentioned in the 2nd chapter, Vishaya vinirvartante niraharasya dehinaha rasvarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate, says that the others are forced to restrain themselves. Others means the people who are in Gyan Yoga and Dhyan Yoga. They are forced to restrain themselves from the sexual intercourse. But a devotee of the Lord automatically refrains because of superior taste, and the superior taste is the loving service of the Supreme Lord. And other than the devotee, no one has any information of this superior taste, and which is why the brahmachari, the householder brahmachari, they are allowed in Bhakti Yoga because automatically they lose all kind of attractions in the material world, and in the material world the sexual attraction is considered to be the most. And a devotee of the Lord, because he is full time engaged in the loving service of the Supreme Lord, automatically all his attractions get faded. Only he indulges into the act to beget the Krishna conscious children. Further, Prabhupada says in his purport, Vigata Bhi. Vigata Bhi means one who is devoid of all kinds of fear. Prabhupada says that one cannot be fearless unless one is fully in Krishna consciousness. A conditioned soul is fearful due to his perverted memory, his forgetfulness of his eternal relationship with Krishna. 2 reasons. First of all, he has forgotten his eternal relationship with Krishna, which is why he is so fearful because of his perverted memory, his past memory. The past memory means when he was in the lower species and there was no memory of Krishna. So, without having the memory of Krishna, which means the forgetfulness of the eternal relationship with Krishna, because Krishna is only permanent, rest everything is temporary. This is why a person who is not Krishna conscious is very fearful. Prabhupada says that Bhagavatam says, Bhayam dvitiya abhiniveshitaha syad isad apattasya viparayayo smriti. It means that Krishna consciousness is the only basis for fearlessness. Therefore, perfect practice is possible for a person who is Krishna conscious. And since the ultimate goal of yoga practice is to see the Lord within, a Krishna conscious person is already the best of all the yogis. Here it is mentioned, Bhayam dvitiya abhiniveshitaha. Bhayam means fear, and dvitiya abhiniveshitam means that other than Krishna, if my mind, if my thoughts are engaged in anything, in my body or in my soul also, then definitely I will be fearful, because it's only Krishna who is permanent. And one who has this complete knowledge that Krishna is everywhere He is omnipotent. He is in every living entity. Then why should I be fearful? Because I am completely surrounded by Krishna. And who is Krishna? Krishna is my ultimate friend. He is my ultimate well-wisher, and He is the supreme friend, the supreme proprietor, the supreme controller, and He always lives, He always resides in my heart. And a devotee of the Lord has this knowledge. Nobody other than the devotee has this knowledge. Even the Gyanis don't know and the Dhyanis don't know, which is why it is only possible for a devotee to be devoid of complete fear. Now we have understood in great detail that what a yogi does after going to a secluded place. The most important requirement of a yogi is that he should be complete brahmachari and completely devoid of fear. Complete brahmachari means one who does not even think of sex life. Indulgence in sex intercourse is out of question. Srila Prabhupada explains that the Gyanis and Dhyanis do not accept anyone eligible for Dhyan Yoga who is not a complete celibate or follows celibacy. They do not approve of a householder for Dhyan Yoga because householders cannot abstain from sex life. Prabhupada says that a bhakti yoga is the only powerful yoga in which a householder or a grihast is accepted. And the reason behind it is this, that bhakti yoga is such a powerful process that when a householder practices the various activities of bhakti, that is shravanam, kirtan, smaran, which means that when the senses are employed in serving the master of the senses, then automatically all the senses become detached from all kinds of material enjoyment. And as for sex life, a householder indulges in sex intercourse only to beget Krishna conscious children and not for his own sense enjoyment. This is the power of bhakti yoga. So we can confidently say that it's a householder who is the devotee of the Lord is a real brahmachari. Here we must note that it is said about a householder who is a devotee of the Lord. He is a perfect brahmachari because though being a householder who may indulge in sex life with his married wife, but he does not do sex intercourse for his sense enjoyment. Rather, he only enters in the act to beget Krishna conscious children. This is why such a householder is a real brahmachari and is certainly much higher than a jnani or dhyani. To prove this point, we have the example of Rishi Vishwamitra and Swami Haridas Thakur. Rishi Vishwamitra did Dhyan Yoga for 60,000 years and followed all the strict rules of Ashtanga Yoga. But when Menaka approached him and distracted him with the sound of her anklet bell, Rishi Vishwamitra got agitated and his meditation got disrupted. He could not resist and accepted the proposal of Menaka, whereas in a similar situation, our Nam Acharya Haridas Thakur was also put into a very difficult examination. A prostitute visited Haridas Thakur consecutively for 3 nights and tried her level best to lure Haridas Thakurji. Haridas Thakur was only 22 at that time. He politely said to the prostitute that he would fulfill all the desires of the lady after completing his chanting rounds. This continued for 3 nights, and ultimately the prostitute who had come to lure Haridas Thakur got herself transformed into a true devotee of the Lord. So very clearly we can understand that a devotee who is completely absorbed and immersed in the loving service of the Lord is so satisfied with the divine bliss that he never indulges in any material enjoyment, be it sex life, which is considered to be the highest attraction in this material world. On the other hand, an exalted yogi like Rishi Vishwamitra could not resist and fell a prey of sense enjoyment in spite of doing meditation for 60,000 years. So it's very clear that only a Krishna devotee is a true brahmachari. Krishna is Rasaraj, and when all senses are employed and engaged in the devotional service, then the senses are automatically satisfied. But if one tries to control the senses by any other artificial process, then it is not possible. Krishna is Rishikesh and our senses are Rishik. Until the senses are engaged to the Supreme Lord, they can never be controlled. Now, the second requirement for the yoga process is that a yogi must be devoid of all kinds of fear. A devotee knows, Srila Prabhupada says that a devotee knows all the three forms of Krishna. He knows that Krishna is everywhere in the form of Brahma Jyoti. Brahma Jyoti is the divine effulgence of Krishna. Then Krishna is residing in the heart of every living entity in his localized form, that is the four-handed, beautiful form of Vishnu as Paramatma. And then there is Nandanandan, Yashodanandan, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This way a devotee has the complete knowledge that Krishna is everywhere and is residing in the heart, in his heart too. He knows that Krishna is the ultimate proprietor, ultimate enjoyer, ultimate powerful man, powerful person, and in spite of being the ultimate proprietor, ultimate enjoyer, Krishna resides in his heart. Krishna is his most closest friend and his real benefactor and well-wisher. This way a devotee is completely devoid of all kinds of fear. He knows that nothing happens without the sanction of Krishna, and Krishna is his dear most closest friend who is always residing in his heart. So it's only a devotee who is completely devoid of all kinds of fear. All of us have seen little Dhruv, who was only 5 years old, but he was not afraid of anything. He went to the forest all alone to do tapasya because he wanted to see Bhagavan. Then we know little Prahlad, who was also 5 years old. His father, the great demon Hiranyakashipu, tried to torture and kill him by various means. He threw Prahlad from a mountain, threw him in a room which was filled with the poisonous snakes. Then he threw him in front of mad elephants. He even tried to burn him alive by making him sit on the lap of Holika. But nothing could make Prahlad fearful. He continued worshipping his most worshipable Lord Krishna. This way we know that it's only a devotee who's completely devoid of any fear. So both the conditions are met only by a devotee, because it's only a devotee whose senses are completely controlled and he is fearless under all circumstances. I hope now we have properly understood today's verse, and according to today's verse, a yogi should leave his house, go to a secluded place, keeping his mind and senses in perfect control, and must only focus on the Supreme Lord, who is seated in four-handed Vishnu Roop as Paramatma in his heart. He has to observe complete celibacy. This is why he should leave his house. The reason behind leaving the house is this, that he should never come across any female so that it may trigger his impulse. And by strictly following all these norms, a yogi is to meditate on the Supreme Lord. Srila Prabhupada says that in today's world, everywhere there are yoga centers. But are they following these prescribed instructions for doing yoga? Srila Prabhupada says that yoga is not meant for physical fitness or to elongate the span of life. Rather, the real purpose of yoga is to follow the process of Ashtanga Yoga, to be able to discover and see the localized form of Vishnu and not for any other purpose. Prabhupada says that anyone who is pursuing the yoga process without knowing the real purpose of Dhyan Yoga is simply wasting his time. By now, I'm sure that all of us have properly understood that how difficult it is to practice the Dhyan Yoga in today's world. Srila Prabhupada says that in Kali Yuga, there is only one way by which one can end the endless cycle of birth and death, and that process is by doing Bhakti Yoga. In Bhakti Yoga, a person can see the Supreme Lord only by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna Mahamantra is given to us by Supreme Lord Himself, who appeared 535 years ago in West Bengal as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is both Radha and Krishna in the mood of a devotee. Mahaprabhu appeared as a devotee because bhakti can be got only through a devotee, and the process that has been prescribed for everyone in the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Our acharyas have clearly taught us how to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. In Vedic Sutra also it is stated that if one thinks that Hare Krishna mantra can be chanted while standing, walking or lying down, then he is completely mistaken. Now all of us, we know the importance of the asana, the importance of the posture and the importance of brahmacharya, and to be completely devoid of fear. These four things are most important to practice Dhyan Yoga. Now in the next verse, Krishna is going to tell us what the person is going to get after doing so much of difficult task, because we need to know what is the fruit after doing such difficult task. I thank you for joining so attentively and listening to the shloka of Bhagwat Gita. I thank my Shiksha Guru, His Grace Harimohan Das Prabhuji. I thank Srila Prabhupada and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur for explaining us the most secretive knowledge of Bhagwat Gita in such simple manner. Now we shall meet the next week with the next shlok, that is the shlok number 15. Till then, keep chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and please do write your realizations about Dhyan Yoga in the comment box. And in case you have any questions, please write down. I shall definitely try to answer your questions by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and my Shiksha Guru, His Grace Harimohan Das Prabhuji. Now we shall meet the next week. Till then, keep chanting and be happy. Hare Krishna.